Good morning. Welcome on both sides of our doors, in person and online, to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. For more than 150 years, we have gathered here on the ancestral lands of the Dakota people, striving to be a church of open minds and loving hearts, celebrating many sources of wisdom, many spiritual paths, and many identities. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your hopes for our world, and your story are welcome here. After service, you can join us for conversation and coffee and treats in our courtyard outside. It's getting a little chilly, but it's nothing yet. So enjoy it while you can. We got some heaters out there as well. Or you can join us for online Zoom coffee hour at 10:15. The link's in your e-news. This is a season of special giving with guests at your table boxes that you can bring home to collect throughout the month for various work around the world to bring back later this month, as well as selecting tags from the giving tree downstairs, supporting people locally through various organizations such as Riverside Elementary, Hawthorne Helps, the Warming Center, and the Link. So we ask that all those items that you can donate, and or you can donate online. There's a link in your e-news, or contact the office if you'd like to give virtually as well, to bring those back on or before Sunday, December 19th. You can also participate, like I said, online, or you can grab many tags downstairs. There's plenty to be refilled as well. For today's specific offering, we're going to collect each week for one of those, and today is for the Link, which provides support for youth experiencing homelessness in and around Rochester. So you can give at the wooden boxes at the side of the sanctuary or online at uurochmn.org/give. Thank you for your generosity. An update about survey results and safety practices, as well as holiday information, will be coming out this week, including information for the solstice, carols in the courtyard, and Christmas Eve. We look forward to finding several ways to safely gather for these annual services in person and online this year. And today, we're grateful for many participants, for Lori Helmers for providing beautiful music today. Glad you're here this morning. As well as reflections from several members about their Jewish heritage with reflections about Hanukkah. Thank you for sharing your reflections today. So I invite you to take a breath and be grateful for the time to gather, to be together, distanced as we may still be, and this time to pause on a Sunday morning. In the words of our minister in the 1870s, the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, may our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. Paul will share our chalice lighting words.
Good morning. With mounds of greenery, the brightest ornaments, we bring high summer to our rooms, as if to spite the somberness of winter to come. In time of want, when life is boarding up against the next uncertain spring, we celebrate and give of what we have away. All creatures bend to rules, even the stars constrained. There is a blessed madness in the human need to go against the grain of cold and scarcity. We make holiday, the rituals varied as the hopes of humanity, the reasons obscure as ancient solar festivals, as clear as joy in one small face.
What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that way. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? Have we come this far always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears.
We'll stay here. Maybe here. As you know, there are many religions in the world. As Unitarian Universalists, we share stories from these different religions. The story I am going to tell you today is from the Jewish religion. Perhaps you have heard of Hanukkah. It is usually celebrated around Christmas time, but this year it began a couple days after Thanksgiving. The story of Hanukkah is a story about a long, long time ago in the country we now call Israel. When Jewish people worship, they meet in a temple, which is what we call a church. Back then, they didn't have electricity, so they lit up their temple with oil lamps like our chalice. However, their lamp was called a menorah, and it had 7 flames instead of our 1 flame to light up their temple. At the time of the Hanukkah story, a mean king ruled over Israel. He kicked the Jewish people out of their temple and ruined things that were special to them. It took many years for the Jewish people to finally get their temple back. And when they did, it was a mess. Their menorah was gone, things were broken, and there was garbage everywhere. They knew it would take a long time to clean it up, but they only found enough oil to light the temple for 1 day. To their surprise, the oil lasted for 8 days. This is my menorah from home. My brother brought it back from Israel. Notice that I have candles in 9 spots. But why are there 9 spots? 1 spot is for the shamus, or the helper candle. The other spots represent the 8 days that the oil lasted. So, at Jewish homes during Hanukkah, families light their menorahs at sunset and sing the blessing over the candles. The first night, there are only 2 candles, the helper candle and the first night candle. On the second night, there are 3 candles, and so on. Tonight is the last night of Hanukkah, so the entire menorah will be lit. I am not going to light this menorah because it isn't sunset, and also because, unlike birthday candles, you don't blow them out, so they just burn down and melt all over the place. In my family, we only sang 1 verse of the Hanukkah blessing, but I have read that on the first night there are actually 3 verses, and on the other nights there are 2. I'm going to sing the verse we sang and continue to sing today when my family celebrates Hanukkah. I'm going to sing it in Hebrew, which is the language they speak in Israel. The blessing means, "Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who has commanded us to kindle the Hanukkah lights." And it goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Amen. The children can meet Amy at the door for activities while we sing the children's benediction.
And we'll hear a video message from Jerry Katzman.
Hi, everyone. Winter holiday season has begun. Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights, began last Sunday evening. Winter solstice, the darkest day of the year, comes on December 21st or 22nd. Christmas on December 25th, and Orthodox Christmas, 12th night or Epiphany, is on January 6th. When our kids were young and coming here for church school, we celebrated all 4 holidays. In Elizabeth's household, her family celebrated Orthodox Christmas, and in my family, we observed Hanukkah. Both my parents were raised in Orthodox Jewish homes, but as adults, they were what we would call today Jewish humanists. They didn't believe in a higher power, but they wanted us children to know about our history and our culture. So we all went to Hebrew school, learned about Judaism, Jewish history, and I learned enough Hebrew to read from the Torah for my bar mitzvah. Although I was not raised religiously, those historical and cultural connections remain real for me. Last Sunday, a few of us got together to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah, to light the menorah, and to have a holiday meal. As a child, my 2 favorite holidays were Passover and Hanukkah. Both acknowledge historical events and the role that God played in them, and both are celebrated in the home. Passover was a favorite because we would have Seder with aunts, uncles, and cousins who lived nearby. And about 2/3 of the way through the Passover Seder, we would stop telling the story of the Exodus and have our meal. And after the Seder meal, the last part of the Seder had lots of singing. 2 of my older cousins loved singing, and the exuberance of the songs was exciting. We didn't do much singing in my house otherwise. Hanukkah was a favorite because of the coziness of the evening. My immediate family would gather, say the blessings, and light the candles, and of course, have a meal centered on potato latkes, fried in oil, hot and crispy, and served with cold applesauce. Both holidays are celebrated in the home. I don't remember ever going to synagogue on Passover or Hanukkah. Both are holidays that celebrate Jewish history and God's miracles. Passover is the story of the Exodus from Egyptian slavery and God's bringing down plagues to convince the Pharaoh to let my people go. Hanukkah is the story of Jewish warriors expelling the Syrians, reconsecrating the temple, and relighting the eternal flame. The flame was lit, and in spite of having only enough oil for one day, the flame miraculously burned for 8 days until the supply chain caught up and more oil arrived. Both are stories of persecution and of freedom. Although we all know the Hanukkah story and of God's miracles, it was the ritual of lighting the candles and the fried potato latkes that were important to me. Just our small family gathered around the small light as the evening settled in. My father was a mechanic and worked long hours, and we would wait until after dark for him to get home. He would get washed up, and then we would light the menorah and have a holiday meal. Mom worked as a bookkeeper. She cooked, she shopped, she cleaned, did laundry, and whatever else needed to be done. I don't think we had any idea or appreciation for what she did. Mom would have latkes and a holiday meal prepared. We would gather around the menorah, sing the blessings together, and light the candles, and then have a great meal together. I like the ritual, and I love the food. Lots and lots of latkes. When we light the candles with my children and grandchildren, I think of those traditions and of my family. And when we eat latkes, I think of Mom and appreciate her.
I'm back. See if I can remember my mask next time. 'Tis the season to be jolly. We have officially entered the time of year, the holiday season, a time that abounds with special foods, decorations, activities, a time in which family traditions are handed down from past generations. Because I grew up Jewish, the holiday season included the celebration of what we know as a minor Jewish holiday, Hanukkah. We did not celebrate Christmas at all, but in my family, I was allowed to decorate my bedroom with festive Israeli flag colors, blue and white, with the little silver thrown in for pizzazz. Every night, we lit the menorah, sang the blessing over the candles, and my brother and I received a small present. These gifts were items like yo-yos, crayons, coloring books, things like that. On the last night of Hanukkah, we would have a large family gathering at our house. No one remembers eating potato latkes, but we cousins remember the round dining room table piled high with gifts from parents, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. I have passed on the tradition of lighting the menorah and giving our children, and now our grandchildren, a small gift every night. It had never occurred to me to ask my parents about the history of this gift-giving until I thought I'd talk about it for this service. When I asked my mother what the history of our tradition is, I was ready to hear the story of my great-grandparents and how they brought gift-giving from Russia. So I was taken aback when my mother replied, "I don't know." Since that didn't feel like a satisfactory answer, I called my father, who had the same response. Now a bit panicked, since I wanted this to be the topic I would share with you today, I texted my 4 first cousins to see what they remembered. Aha! They, too, received a present every night. But they also had no idea the origin of this so-called tradition. So, although I cannot share with you the story of a grand tradition that sailed across the ocean with my ancestors, I can tell you that despite the jealousy I felt towards those who could happily celebrate the customs of the dominant culture, I was immersed in the love of my parents and extended family, as I now know we created a new tradition.
Each of us has a special day. We celebrate our own special way. But we all have a dream we share, a dream for peace everywhere. Each of us has a different way to celebrate the holiday, but one tradition unites us all, one glowing candle so small. So light a candle in the window, a flame to show we care, one single light that's burning bright, a sign we all can share. So light a candle in the window, a pure and brilliant sight. The candle glow will let us know that we can spread the light. So light a candle in the window, a flame to show we care, one single light that's burning bright, a sign we all can share. So light a candle in the window, a pure and brilliant light. The candle glow will let us know that we can spread the light. Each of us has a special night, one candle burning so bright.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. Be enriched by the presence of each other and draw yourself closer into the heart of love at this time of service and reflection. In this time together, we ask that our minds be open, our hearts welcoming, our arms embracing. Here, we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Mary Jane McCarty and Kay Eberman, serving as our caring coordinators for the last 2 weeks, arranging care for our members and friends in need. Jessie Finch will take over tomorrow for the next 2, and we thank her for that. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. This year has taken a lot out of us. It has taken a lot from us. If during this time of increasing needs in our lives, you are experiencing challenges, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. Many of us may need additional care, whether it be personal pastoral care or other assistance, and we encourage you to reach out to Reverend Luke or myself with that request. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because all people here have value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. May all of us find love, hope, joy, and healing strength in our community. Kirk and Joe Payne welcomed a new grandson on October 12th. Callum Mark is doing very well, and it's a joy to see him and his 3-year-old brother Van, who wanted to return him. We welcome this new life to the world and congratulate the entire family. And we are thrilled to share that George Thompson is the 2021 recipient of the annual Bridge Builder Award. This award honors civic, religious, community, and academic leaders and individuals who have worked to establish cooperative relationships and mutual understanding across racial, cultural, economic, and religious barriers for the betterment of Rochester and the surrounding communities. Through unique partnerships, these honored individuals and organizations raise awareness, share knowledge, and provide solutions through programs and projects that stand as great examples to the power and possibility generated when people put aside differences and join together for a common goal. George is a treasure to this community, and we honor him today. Let's hear it. As our UUs have been doing for well over 150 years, we are having to adjust to an ever-changing world and new ways of doing things. Through this time of adjustment, we ask for hope and patience, understanding and acceptance, and a renewed commitment of service to those in our lives, church, and community. May the faith and the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come.
I invite you to take a deep breath. Breathe deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth holding you with its ancient turning. Above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with its ancient light. Holding you in this place, this moment in between, you yourself made of earth and stars. May you know that in this house you are named and you are known as beloved, as welcome, as sacred. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life, source of love, God of many names and beyond all naming. As the darkness grows later and longer, the ancient questions reach across the generations, echoing still, will there be enough? Enough light, enough warmth, enough love? We wonder still, will there be enough of it all to hold us, to inspire us, to kindle what little oil we feel we have yet in these tender souls of ours, finding our way through weary days? We wonder, will there be enough letters in the Greek alphabet to keep vigil with our health and our hope in humanity? We wonder, will there be enough safety to protect us, enough people returning? Will there be enough will and wisdom for mental health support and accountability to break the cycles of a culture that worships weapons? Enough will and wisdom to protect reproductive health and choice instead of false definitions that claim to protect life while dehumanizing women? Will there be enough oil in the lamp to give light and love and beauty to the darkness that is always there? May we be reminded daily of how light and love so often show up, that it lasts longer and burns brighter than we often think possible, surprising us with a flame or just a faint flicker at times, sometimes right when we need it, and sometimes when we attune our hearts to notice that it's always there. We hold in our hearts this day all those who suffer in mind, in body, or spirit. I invite you to bring the names you're holding in your own hearts this day in joy or in sorrow, celebration or concern. and silently or aloud now in this time and space to speak their names. For all the names spoken, unspoken, may we be forever grateful for the fabric of love, of life that weaves us together. May those threads hold us in love and in strength. These words of meditation are from Lynn Unger, who's a UU minister with Jewish heritage. She writes, "Come down from the hills, declare the fighting done. Be bold and declare victory, even if the temple is wrecked and the tyrants have not yet retreated, only coiled back like a snake prepared to strike again. Try to remember a life gentled by daily acts of domestic faith. The pot set to boil, the bed made up, the table set in calm expectation that when the sun sets, we will still be here. Come down and settle. Unlearn the years of hiding. Light fires that can be seen for miles, that dance and spark and warm the frozen marrow. Set lamps in the window. Declare your presence, your loyalties, the truths for which you do not expect to have to die. It would take a miracle, you say, to carve such a solid life out of the shell of fear. And I say you are the stuff from which such miracles are made. May it be so, and amen."
So the next piece is going to invite congregational participation. So if you look under your seats, or perhaps in front of you or beside you, you will see hand chimes. You pick it up at the opposite end of the clapper. I think there should be enough for just about everyone, if you're willing to search. You do not have to have any musical background or training or skills. You simply have to be able to do this. So give it a try. So the next piece is called Canterbury Bells, and I invite you to randomly ring your chime when the Spirit moves you, following there's always one in every class. Following the mood of the music. So you notice it starts rather slow and reflective, and then it builds and gets very joyous, and then it comes back down. The only instruction I have is the very end. Look at your chime. If you have a C, an E, or a G, hold it up. C, E, or G. All right. At the end of the piece, I'm going to go, attention, C, E, Gs, prepare, ring. So let's try it. Attention. Let's try it again. All together. Beautiful. Does anyone need a chime? And by the way, I will be disinfecting them in between services. So if you would, thank you. If you would just simply put them back under your chair. It doesn't have to be under the chair where you found them. Just put them back under, and I'll be cleaning during the time between services. All right. Anytime.
don't have any chimes to hand out. One of the things I love about being a member of this church is being given the opportunity to learn more about my Jewish heritage and often about myself, and then being able to share it with all of you, my current religious family. I, like Jerry, Jody, Paula, was brought up in a Jewish household. My parents were both the children of Eastern European Jewish immigrants to New York. Once I turned 7, they strongly encouraged, they forced me to attend Hebrew school classes twice a week after school, as well as Sunday school. I did learn enough Hebrew to lead the usual Friday night and Saturday morning services on the day of my bar mitzvah at age 13, and read my section of the Hebrew Bible. But after that, I got the sense that they felt their religious obligations were complete. I know I did. And we barely went to services. At the time, I just felt relief to not have to go to class anymore. And I didn't think much more about it. At this time of year, we did light candles for Hanukkah and sing the blessings in our home, but we didn't exchange gifts or eat any special foods. Now I feel I have some new insights, especially after reviewing the history of Hanukkah. How does the history of events over 2,000 years ago help explain anything about my childhood? Well, we have to go back to Alexander the Great, but try to stay awake for this part. Alexander the Great conquered most of northeastern Africa, Western Asia in the 4th century BC. Much of the Greek culture and language also was spread, and that process was called Hellenization. After Alexander's death, the empire split up, but the Greek language and culture became dominant. The Jewish people lived in Judea, which is now known as the land of Israel, under tolerant Greek Syrian kings, and many Jews spoke Greek and became quite assimilated. Things changed when a new king, King Antiochus IV, came in around 180 BC. He outlawed the Jewish religion and ordered the Jews to worship the Greek gods. In 168 BC, he ordered a tax on Jerusalem and desecrated the holy Second Temple by erecting an altar to Zeus and sacrificing pigs. This eventually led to a revolt started by the Jewish priest Mattathias and his 5 sons in the mountains near Jerusalem. One of the sons, Judah Maccabee, the Hammer, took over after Mattathias' death and led the outnumbered Jews to victory within a few years, using guerrilla warfare tactics. Judah called on his followers to cleanse the temple, rebuild the altar, and light its menorah, the gold candelabrum whose 7 branches represented knowledge and creation and were meant to keep burning all the time. Here's where the story gets interesting. According to medieval Jewish texts called the Talmud, Judah and his followers witnessed a miracle. There was only enough untainted olive oil to keep the menorah's lights burning for a single day, but the flames continued for 8 nights, leaving them time to find a fresh supply. This wondrous event inspired the Jewish sages to proclaim the yearly 8-day festival. They also advised using a special Hanukkah menorah, which had room for 9 candles, 8 to symbolize each day of the holiday, along with the 9th space for the helper candle. What is interesting to me is that the first book of Maccabees, which is the source of much of what we know about this holiday, it's a book that's not part of the Hebrew Bible, but is included in the Apocrypha, or extra books. And it was written much closer to the time of the historical events, one would think would be more historically accurate. It tells a different version. It describes an 8-day celebration that followed the rededication of the temple, but it makes no mention of the miracle of the oil. Why this discrepancy? Modern Jewish scholars think the Talmud rabbis in the medieval times did not want to keep celebrating the military victory, especially because the Maccabees and their followers, even though they were great at guerrilla warfare, were felt to be poor rulers, and they killed many Jews themselves who had become Hellenized in what some scholars call a Jewish civil war. It seems that the medieval rabbis either created or amplified the story about the oil lasting 8 nights as a miracle, and that became the official reason to celebrate Hanukkah. And Hanukkah has always been considered a minor Jewish holiday. Jews can work or go to school during the holiday as opposed to the other holidays. Even the purported oil miracle seems a bit low-key compared to parting the Red Sea, bringing 10 plagues on the Egyptians. There is no doubt that Hanukkah's proximity to Christmas has amplified its importance, especially in the United States. So how does this relate back to my parents and not attending temple anymore ourselves in my childhood? I think my family was actually more in line with the Jews who were Hellenized and assimilated in ancient Judea rather than with the Maccabees. Although never said directly, I know that my family lost many members in the Holocaust in Europe in World War II, and this was still very close to those times when I was growing up. I think my parents, and especially I, just wanted to fit in with our current society and not stand out as being different. In a sense, it would be a little inconsistent to celebrate a holiday espousing non-assimilation and being strict religious devotees when we ourselves were pursuing assimilation ourselves. I have to admit, I do feel some pangs of guilt when reading the history of the Jewish people and feel that I may be disappointing my ancestors somewhat by not following all the tenets of Judaism. But then I remember that the main goal of Judaism is what they call tikkun olam, or repairing the world. And I think actually all of our presenters, are doing good in the world in various ways, but especially through our work with this church, and even more specifically today, by helping inform all of you about our collective Jewish roots and foundations.
Snow, winter snow, the silently falling white snow. Snow, winter snow, reflects in the candlelight's glow. Snowflakes are falling and your heart's recalling the joys of the seasons gone by. And soon with the dawning, a new crisp white morning brings happiness filling the sky. Snow, winter snow, the sky spreads a blanket of snow. Snow, winter snow, to cover the world far below. Hanukkah candles glow on winter snow.
Remembering Hanukkah. As I reflected on my memories of Hanukkah as a child, I think Hanukkah was complicated. It was complicated because it occurred so close to Christmas. Or maybe it was Christmas that was complicated. There were definitely differences in opinions about how these holidays should be celebrated or not by my parents. My parents were first-generation Americans. They were both raised in observant Jewish households. I think my father would have been happy if our home was an observant Jewish household, but it wasn't. My mother wanted to embrace fashion, style, and fitting in. She wasn't all that keen on most of the rituals around Jewish holidays, but somehow she and my dad worked that out, most of that out. But Christmas time and Hanukkah time was different. We did light a menorah in our house for the special family or extended family meals, unlike Passover. So I grew up in New York City, in the Bronx, in a largely Irish Catholic neighborhood. And even though New York was home to 2 kids were getting gifts, but that didn't work. I am fairly sure, looking back, that we celebrated Hanukkah very much like my parents did when they were younger, lighting a menorah, making sure we retold the story of Hanukkah every year. Judaism is all about celebrating holidays and making sure that the rituals of the holidays are passed on from one generation to the next. When I left New York as a young adult, I did purchase my own menorah. I think I have faithfully practiced lighting it at Hanukkah just about all my adult life. My son Ethan actually has my childhood menorah, and he too faithfully lights it and sent me a picture of it last Sunday night on the first night of Hanukkah. My sister also sent a picture of her menorah. I think my parents would be very pleased to know, after all these years, 2 more generations, their daughters and their grandson, are still lighting menorahs. And we will sing hymn 223, Rock of Ages.
invite you, as you're comfortable, to place a hand on your heart or toward the sky or the earth and take a breath. Whatever your traditions are or aren't, whatever stories you know or don't, or find out something new altogether, may there be enough there, strands of love to hold, lights of hope to bring joy and peace. Amen.